To finish up chapter 4, we just have a couple of quick things to talk about, common mistakes, and then we're also going to look at some calculator instructions to calculate all of those same things yesterday that we found by hand. We can use the calculator to help us find them now. So what can go wrong, different mistakes along the way relating to quantitative data? Well, in regards to graphs, choosing a bin width that's appropriate to the data, that can be challenging. Changing the bin width easily changes the appearance of the histogram. These two pictures here, they are the exact same sets of data. One of them has a very, very, very tiny bin width, meaning those bars are very skinny. The other one has a much wider bin width. So which one is easier to read? To me, this one is. Yes, there's not very many bars. Would we like maybe one or two more bars? Yes. But the one on the left has so many little ups and downs. There's lots of little peaks. Where the one on the right, at least you can see the x-axis better because it's really tough to read on the left one. You can see the y-axis perfectly fine. So to me, choosing the correct bin width makes a big difference with histograms. So some basic calculation mistakes. Remember when you're doing the median, remember to sort your values from low to high before you find the median. Also, you cannot compute these kind of summaries, the median, the mean. You can't find any of those for categorical data, so don't try. There is a such thing as reporting too many decimal places. Like I said, I am totally fine with the standard deviation being 2 decimal places. Don't round in the middle of a calculation. That's a big mistake. Don't round until you're giving me a very final answer, because the more often you round, the more mistakes you make. Watch out if you have multiple modes. Remember those bimodal and multimodal? They make differences when it comes to deciding whether to calculate the median or the mean. And also beware of outliers, because remember, if we know there's outliers, we're definitely calculating the median, not the mean. So the only thing we have left is to take a look at calculator instructions. The stuff that we did yesterday, finding the mean, the 5-number summary, the mean, and the standard deviation. Your calculator can do all of it. Now I will warn you now, you are allowed to use this on the test, but none of the instructions are provided. So you do need to know how to use your calculator. Now, there's a big 3-step process here. The only 2 that you'll need to know for the test are how to enter the data into the calculator and how to calculate the actual statistics. Creating the graph is just bonus. It shows you how to quickly make a histogram, so at least you can compare to make sure you did correct on a test, but entering the data and calculating the statistics are the most important. When you're calculating the statistics, make sure you know your notations. These are your important items that you're going to be reporting. X bar is always your mean. SX is your standard deviation. Min X, Q1, MED for median, Q3, and max X are your 5-number summary. Now, instead of trying to explain this right here, on the next slide, we're going to have an example that we're going to work through. And I'm going to give you a little video to watch. I actually recorded the graphing calculator so that you know exactly what buttons to press. So let's take a look at that example. So we're going to use the graphing calculator to calculate the median, the 5-number summary, the IQR, the mean, and the standard deviation of the data for number 41 on page 76. So take a moment, open up your books, pause the video, or you can look at the video here. This is exactly copied out of your book, but if you want to be able to write down the data, because this is not on your notes, take a moment and go ahead and write that down. Then I will start up my little instructional video so you can see exactly what buttons to press so that you are able to do this, especially if you have your own calculator, you'll be able to do this on your own. So here's the video. So let's let's look at number 41 on page 76 and go through the calculator instructions so that you can see how to use your calculator at home or in class. So to start, we need to enter the data into the calculator. So we're going to press the Stat button, and then this very first option says Edit, so we're going to hit Enter to edit. Now, as you can see, I already have some data in there, and there's going to be a lot of times where that's going to be the instance. To clear out your data, you need to use your arrow keys and arrow up to highlight L1 or L2, whatever you have there. You press the Clear button and then Enter. So now that it's cleared out, we're going to go ahead and quickly type in our data. I'm going to go down each column, so 4.57, 5.67, 5.08, 5.62, 4.39, 4.41, 4.12, 4.52, 4.12, 5.29, 4.26, 5.51, 4.64, 4.26, 4.82, 4.31, 4.40, 4.63, 4.30, 5.78, 4.29, 4.39, 4.73, 4.60, 4.45, and finally 4.56. Once you have all of the data in, now you're ready to actually calculate the statistics. So if we're looking at our instructions, moving on to calculating, you're going to press the Stat button again, but this time you're going to arrow right to the Calculate menu, and you're going to use that very first option, one variable statistics. So you're going to press Enter. Now your calculator might have what mine looks like, or yours might look less fancy and it may just be waiting with the cursor flashing and it just says one variable statistics. Either way, you need to continue to hit Enter until it calculates all of your statistics. Now there's a lot of information here, so knowing what information is important to us is the key. So the first piece of information that's important that we're going to be writing down is our mean. That would be, as your notes say, X bar. So this very first one, this 4.68, that's your mean. SX, that's this guy right here, that is your standard deviation, so 0.49, well that would round up to 0.50. Then if you see how it says there's like an arrow that goes down, we need to use our arrows and we're going to arrow down, and there's a whole bunch more information. This is your 5-number summary. So you have your minimum, 4.12, Q1, 4.31, your median, 4.54, your Q3, 4.82, and your maximum, 5.78. So if it asks for the 5-number summary, this is how you find it. So that is the basics for using the graphing calculator to calculate the information that we were finding by hand in the previous lesson. Now your calculator also has the capability of making graphs out of this data. So we're going to peek at some of the options that it has that we've already learned. That's under step 3, creating a graph. So we're going to press second and then y equals. So second, y equals, and then we're going to press enter to go ahead and start graph 1. Now, mine right now has on, it's already highlighted in black. If yours has the off button highlighted, you simply need to hit enter to turn it on. Now let's talk about the different kinds of graphs. If I use my arrow, the very first option there, that's a scatter plot. It's just your typical array of dots. Your second option, this is a line graph that we don't really use very often. The next one is a histogram. This is a graph that we use very, very commonly with quantitative data. This next one is a box and whisker plot that shows outliers. We're going to talk about that one in chapter 5. This is your normal box plot that we've talked about in chapter 4. And then this is another graph that we don't use. So let's just say we want to make a histogram. So I'm going to go up, I'm going to go over to this option, and I'm going to hit enter to turn it on. And then you want to make sure that your X list says L1 because that's the one that we were using earlier. So since everything looks good, the last thing we need to do is simply press the zoom button, which is right here, and we want option 9. So you can press 9, or if you want to arrow down to option 9, just so you know what it says zoom stat. So if I press enter, it creates a histogram for us, so you can see where the data sits. So that's the basics of the calculator, but the only steps that you need to know how to do right now are putting the data in and calculating the important statistics. So let's look at number 41 on page 76 and go through the calculator. Alrighty, we don't need to hear that again. So you can reference back to this video at any point in time if you need to in order to see those instructions again because they are very helpful and you will want to know how to do that for the test to make your life a lot easier. So that's the end of chapter 4.